another episode of the Rise of 1% podcast, where you're going to discover the tools and strategies, the insights that dominate and get into the top 1% of your industry. I am G Bass. And in today's episode, I want to actually speak to you if you have a coaching business, if you have a consulting business, if you have some type of online course, if you have a service-based business, and you've been looking to discover some strategies to be able to grow your business to 20,000 plus a month. 20,000 plus a month. And without having to spend money on paid advertising. Now, the reason I actually want to have this discussion, because I thought about back when we actually started our company back in 2016. We had a lot of different strategies we was implementing at the time to grow a company, from an organic standpoint to even leveraging paid advertising. And we did this actually for some years. It was around about 2021, at the end of 2021 or so, where I actually had pretty much discovered an organic, efficient system that we actually can install in our business, where we actually was able to have a $20,000 a month, literally within 30 days of putting this particular system in place, and it was without spending money on paid advertising at that time. And what I ended up doing was I ended up sharing that system with our clients at the time, and actually one of our clients, LaShawn Brooks, was fortunate enough to actually generate around about $40,000 in 60 days without spending money on paid advertising. And so now we've been working with a lot of black coaches, consultants, course creators, and even service-based businesses, primarily with installing this same system into their business. From an organic standpoint, scaling their companies up to 20,000 plus a month, actually in under 60 days, without spending money on paid ads. So I'm actually going to talk about the things you want to actually have in place to be able to have this type of success in your business over time. So the first thing you have to have is you have to have a specific niche market. That's the first thing. A lot of people are generalists. They say, I can help any and everybody. Now, at times in the beginning stages of a business, you may be a little bit more of a generalist. You want to, though, become a specialist. A specialist. A general practitioner typically works on all parts of the body when it comes to the health field. They take on any and every client that they can help. They typically don't have a lot of time. They don't make a lot of money as well, because they're not solving a big, painful problem, because they're working on all parts of the body. Versus a brain surgeon is a specialist. They focus in on solving a big, painful problem for someone. They focus on one part of the body, and they typically have a lot more time because they're not taking on any and every type of client or patient, and they make a lot more money. So with that being said, the first thing you have to do is you have to identify a niche or even a sub-niche within the niche. So I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you were in accounting and bookkeeping. You may say, in terms of your niche, just using this as an example, I help lawyers. We have law practices doing anywhere from $1 million to $5 million a year with accounting and bookkeeping services. So the niche is primarily the lawyers. You can sub niche it down a little bit more, $1 to $5 million a year. And then of course, you helping them solve the problem in terms of their accounting and bookkeeping. Right? So that's where you really want to start at, is identifying the niche and then identifying the specific transformation or problem that you're actually going to solve for that specific niche market. That's the first thing you want to do. Now, the next thing you want to do, once you have your niche market identified, you have the transformation or the problem that's going to be solved identified, the next thing you want to do is you want to have a price point. Typically, a premium price point. I speak to coaches, consultants, course creators, service-based businesses all the time, and some people are pricing a little bit too low for the amount of value that they're actually adding to helping the client and the transformation and the result that they're getting and what it's worth to them over the lifetime of getting it. So when I say premium price point, I'm talking about around $3,000 and up. That's what I'm talking about. Around about $3,000 and up. Okay? And with $3,000 and up, that would typically be a one-off type of sale. Now, if you have some type of service where it's recurring, you may charge $2,000 a month, or $2,500 a month, or $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month. Okay? So it just depends on the pricing model you decide to go with, whether you're going to go with one-off or you're going to go with recurring. It just depends. But you definitely want to have a premium price point. The next thing you want to have as well is the mechanism. So the mechanism primarily is how you're going to help the client solve the problem, that's part of the transformation as well that they're going to get. And then the next thing is, what is the channel that you're actually going to use to get your message and your offer out there? So channel could be LinkedIn, a channel could be Facebook, a channel could be Instagram, a channel could be YouTube, a channel could be Twitter, a channel could be TikTok. These are just some channels. Another channel as well could be email marketing, SMS marketing. A channel as well can be speaking on stages and at events. Those can be channels. Channel could be as well getting interviewed on podcasts or having your own podcast. Channel could be webinars. So those are some channels. And there's more out there. Those are just some of the ones I'm gonna name on here. You just have to identify the channel, of course, where your ideal clients are hanging out at. Like I talked about in a recent podcast episode with lead generation strategies for 2024. Now, once you've identified the channel, now what you have to do is you have to decide on what's going to be the most consistent and predictable way for you to actually generate qualified appointments to get in front of your ideal clients to be able to generate new business in terms of new clients that you can actually serve with your offer. So, I talked about this in lead generation strategies in 2024, so I'm not going to go through everything again in this episode. What I will say though is, yes, posting on social media is great. That's great. Using the 4 E's of social media marketing, which is what I talked about in a previous episode, and also posting testimonials, results, case studies, all that's great. You can generate leads, you can get clients, it's a great way to stay on top of mind of your audience. All that's great. Now, what I will say though, in terms of a consistent and predictable way to keep the calendar actually full with qualified appointments and get clients organically without spending money on paid ads, is by having an outbound strategy, which is I talked about that in lead generation strategies for 2024. An outbound strategy. What I mean by that is a way that you can actually reach out to people that could potentially be your ideal clients. It could be on Facebook, it can be on LinkedIn, it can be on Instagram. It can even be through email marketing, SMS marketing. A way that you actually can reach out and connect with people day in and day out in your market, build relationships, those that you can potentially help, book them into calls. Now, when it comes from an organic standpoint and an outbound standpoint, it's great, what we've discovered over the years, to have what we call a 2-call process to convert a lead over to a client. So what does that look like? Well, the first call typically will be a 15-minute discovery call. A 15-minute discovery call where you get on, you build a little bit more rapport with the potential client, and you qualify the lead. You qualify the lead. What I'm going to share with you is what we look at a qualified lead as. Number 1, do they actually have pain or a problem that you can help them solve? Is there a gap when it comes to their current situation to a desired situation they want? No pain, no sale. That's the first qualifier. We call these the 7 buying beliefs, by the way. The second buying belief or qualifier, doubts. They have to believe that they cannot solve the problem on their own. They have to admit it. The third buying belief, cost. The cost of them doing nothing has to be greater than the financial resources and time it's going to take in terms of investment to get that problem solved. The fourth buying belief and qualifier, desire. They have to have some type of compelling payoff they're looking to achieve. The fifth buying belief is trust. They have to trust in your said method or mechanism to be able to help them solve the problem. The sixth buying belief is financial. They have to have the financial resources or access to the financial resources to be able to invest, to get their problem solved, and the willingness to solve their problem as well in terms of their financial resources. The seventh is support. The spouse or business partner or any stakeholders around them have to support them in making a decision. Those are 7 buying beliefs. Now, here's the thing, like I said, on a 15-minute discovery call, you qualify. Typically, if they're qualified, when you're doing it from an organic and outbound standpoint, you're going to set them into a second call, which typically will be a sales call or a strategy session call or a consultation call or whatever you want to call a second call. That's typically where you're going to put together the custom tailored strategy for them to actually get their problem solved. Now, in between discovery and that second call, you want to have a pre-selling mechanism, which a lot of our clients use what we call value videos. Or if you have a video sales letter or written sales letter or website, you can use those as well. A value video, though, if you was to use that, pretty much it's just a video introducing yourself, telling a little bit about what you do, talking a little bit about the pains, problems, frustrations of your market, giving some solutions, showing some proof of concept, some success stories, testimonials, case studies. That's pretty much what a value video is. And even a VSL. A VSL is just, typically it goes a lot more in depth than just a value video though. So, the reason you want to have this pre-selling mechanism because after you do the discovery call and you send this pre-selling mechanism over to your potential client, it's going to actually pre-sell them on your offer. So by the time they get onto that second call, which is the sales call, strategy session, consultation, what have you, they already pre-sold. So after you do the custom tailored strategy and you make your offer, it's typically not a hard close that you have to do. And if you've covered the 7 buying beliefs throughout your sales process as well, you should eliminate objections. Now, if you do just happen to get some objections, you do have to know how to handle those objections. I'm not going to go into that on this particular episode. But you do have to know how to handle objections if they do come up. If you actually go through those 7 buying beliefs, typically you won't get many objections, if any, most of the time. Unless it's just like logistics, like I got to move some money around or something like that. So, those are the things you want to have in place with the organic and the outbound system. Now, with the organic and outbound system, as well, in terms of getting to 20,000 plus a month without spending money on paid ads. What you have to do is you have to have time blocks in your schedule. I see people attempt to do outbound all the time, and they like do outbound when they feel like it. You have to have a calendar, and you have to have time blocks on times when you're going to prospect, and time blocks for times that you're going to do discovery calls and sales calls or strategy sessions or consultations or what have you. You have to block that out on the calendar, and you have to stick to it day in and day out. Now, with our clients we work with, we actually have an automated system that automates some of the prospecting efforts. You can look into having that for your business as well, or you can manually reach out. Automation just helps with saving some time. But even with automation, even if you're going to use automation for outbound on like LinkedIn, Facebook, what have you, it's not fully automated in the sense that, of course, once people respond, you have to go in and have a conversation with them. You know, build that rapport, see if there's any way you can help, if there's any synergy. If it is, then you book them to calls. But like I said, you have to have time blocks. Now, once you have your time blocks, when you're going to be doing prospecting, when you're going to be doing discovery calls and sales calls and strategy sessions or consultations, you got that blocked out. And the next thing you have to know is your numbers. You have to know your numbers. So, if I'm looking to get to 20,000 plus a month as quick as possible, and have some clients that I can serve, and let's say I have a one-off offer of 3K. If I convert normally at a minimum of 20%, minimum, meaning out of every 5 qualified calls I take, and I do, at least 1 closes. That's at minimum. As a founder, you really should be getting up to closing 40, 50, 60% plus. Let's just say you're in the beginning. Minimum 20%. Well, if I want to get to over 20,000 a month, I need to do around 2 deals a week if it's 3K for my offer. That means I need to have, at minimum, let's say around 12 to 13 qualified calls a week on my calendar, because you have to take into account if someone cancels or reschedules. So you don't want to go straight for 10. You got to hedge a little bit, because sometimes people will cancel or reschedule. So I need around 12 to 13. And that'll yield me, if I'm closing at a minimum 20%, if 10 are showing up, that'll yield me what? 6K a week. That's what you'll be burning in. It's around $24,000 in a month. So you have to know your numbers. Now, of course, once you get those clients, you should have some type of onboarding process for them, and you should have around 3 to 4 different activation points in terms of taking them from their current situation to their desired situation, to getting them their transformational result and getting them their problem solved. And you go extremely hard with doing that in terms of client service delivery. And then you start to get case studies, testimonials that you can feed as well back into your marketing to continue to ramp and scale, and you also have happy clients. You get referrals and all that type of stuff as well. continue to grow and scale your business. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. So that's pretty much all I have for this episode. I hope you actually got some value out of it. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. What were some of your biggest takeaways from this? If you're currently not at $20,000 plus a month in company revenue, will this be something you're willing to go out and take action on moving forward to really ramp your business up? I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, you can also leave a comment in the review section. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, you got value, definitely bang that like button, bang that subscribe button. Feel free to share this around with anyone that you feel can benefit. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, you got value, give us a 5-star rating. We'll appreciate it. Feel free to share that around as well. And also, if you're a black coach, consultant, course creator, service provider, you want to go a little bit more deeper into what I actually shared here on this podcast episode in terms of being able to pack your calendar with qualified appointments this year in 2024, be able to scale your business up to that 20K, 50K plus a month level in under 60 days without paid ads. It'll actually be a link in the description to a free case study where I go a lot more deeper on what I just actually shared in this episode today. With that said, until next time, this is G Bass with the Rise of 1%. Have a phenomenal day on purpose.